Hey, I'm Pastor Ryan. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. So, 14 was the age where I started getting involved in drugs and alcohol. I think I started smoking weed, started snorting cocaine, following the wrong crowd, fighting in school. I can remember, I think fourth grade, I was already getting expelled for slamming somebody's head into the water fountain. I was just angry. I was mad at the world. And then when I turned 15, this was the mistake that changed my life forever. I was involved in a violent crime, and I ended up going to juvenile justice for, I think it was like 22 months. I remember just not caring about nothing, get involved in the gangs and everything in there. I was just fighting, negative, just ready to just do anything at any time. And I just remember getting involved in the ROTC program there. And I remember it made me feel better about myself. I started moving up in the ranks. Before I left there, I was a command sergeant major in the Army ROTC. And I was hoping my parole officer would let me go home. Well, not my parole officer, but my social worker would let me go home or get me out of there before I turned 17. But that didn't happen, and my hopes were killed. So I knew I was going to prison, so I stripped the uniform off and I just gave up. I remember just being so scared that I didn't know what to do. I was stepping into a man's world and I was still a kid. And I remember going into the cell, it was like a doghouse. It didn't have no windows. They had cotton for the stuff the windows with that we had to sleep overnight. I stayed in there for, I think it was 45 days before they sent me to the prison I was going to. And I was at Tuberville Correctional Institute. I remember getting there. I remember seeing so much violence, so many people getting stabbed, so many people getting jumped on. I just remember feeling lost, scared. I remember reaching out to the Lord. I remember starting to read my Bible. I just remember that I didn't want to be there. I didn't want that lifestyle. 6 months later, I got released. I had 3 years of parole. I remember going home, really not having nothing to go home positive to, but the same family, the same stuff that was going on, the homeboys out there waiting with the bag of reefer ready to smoke. Later on down the road, I made it, I think, 13 years dodging the police, still doing things that I wasn't supposed to be doing, robbing, stealing, doing drugs, fighting. I made it through about 13 years of not getting back in trouble, but in and out of jail, not going back to prison. I got married when I was 21, and I had one kid at that time. His name was Braden. And I think that helps change me a little bit. I wasn't running the streets. I wasn't partying, so to say. I was just doing it all at the house. And then she ended up getting pregnant again. We had a son named Caleb. It's just the same thing, trying to get away with everything, not living right. And the prescription pills took us for a ride of our lifetime, and we ended up letting her mom get the kids because we couldn't take care of them no more. And I just gave up after that. After she got the kids, I gave up. Went just trying to sell drugs, trying to go back to the same lifestyle, fighting, running the streets. This time I went to prison at, I don't remember how old I was, but I ended up going back to prison for possession of meth, amphetamines. So I went in with the attitude that I'm going to do better for myself. I'm going to change my ways. Started learning about Jesus, started reading the Bible, started praying, and I watched God move in my life. He was changing me. I remember looking at the verse. It was, I don't remember exactly what verse it was, but it was, don't be conformed to this world, but be transferred by the renewal of your mind. I remember that being posted on the wall every day, and it started to sink in. It started sinking in, and in there I started to learn how to not get involved in all the stuff that was going on, all the drugs and alcohol and all that stuff that was going on. I learned to stay away from it. And then I got parole, and I went to a halfway house in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I left after 30 days. I left out of there. This time the rabbit hole went way deeper than I ever been before. I started really getting involved in things that really I could have caught life in prison for. And I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I was running from my own shadow because I felt wrong. I felt ashamed. I couldn't be the person that I used to be. The Lord was convicting me on it. I couldn't handle it no more. And I got away from it. And I remember buying me a cheap car. And I started going to work. I remember falling a couple times, kept going back to the drugs, but still, I'd get back up, go back to work. I remember just kept getting back in the same cycle. And then I met my wife, Megan, which is my saving grace. And just seeing the light that was in her life, the motivation she had to do the right thing. I wanted that. I wanted somebody that could help me walk this life. She's been in the same lifestyle I've been in. She could help me walk this life. So we end up moving pretty quick. We moved in together and started going. We was looking for a church. I remember we were looking for a church, and what's crazy about it, what I remember about it, she was asking her baby daddy about the church we should go to, and he told us to come to Revivify. I just remember coming here and the Holy Spirit being so thick that, to mention, I was trying to live the same lifestyle without letting nobody know it, just trying to be indiscreet with it. And I remember coming to this church and not being able to do it. It wasn't going to happen. It was time for a change. But I kept coming, playing it. I don't know how many Sundays it was. It wasn't many Sundays, but I remember I just kept trying to play it off like I'm good. I ain't getting high. I ain't doing nothing. Until she knew it. Megan knew I was still getting high. She said that she couldn't have me at her house. That she can't live this lifestyle. If you're gonna live this lifestyle, you gotta leave. So I was like, I was down to the same point I was before. Back to nothing and nobody. Just a $275 car, I think it was. And I remember not wanting to go back to the same lifestyle. And I remember she was at work. I think we lived on, matter of fact, we lived on the same road that we live on now, but it's not the house we live in. It was an apartment down the road. I remember crying out to Jesus. Remember that song, I Want to Be Changed, by Michael Tyler, I think it is. I remember crying out to Jesus that day on that floor. And I was done. I was done with the lifestyle. I went to rehab for 30 days. When I left that program at 30 days, I knew that the odds were against me. That if I did not get connected and get plugged in to a church and do something, that I would be back in the same lifestyle. So I went in. I started coming to church every day. When I come home, we started coming to church every Sunday. Every time the door opened, we was at church. Every time. I wouldn't talk to nobody. I remember Mama Susan and Jack always pursuing me. Trying to get me out my comfort zone, which I'm blessed to have them people in my life now, but I just remember not feeling comfortable coming in. But I just kept coming. Whenever I felt like going out, using drugs, when I felt like giving up, when I felt hopeless, like I always did, when I felt rejected, abandoned, I would just keep coming in the doors, keep coming in, and on Sundays I would worship Jesus. I remember many times I come to this altar and I laid everything down for Jesus. Yeah, sometimes I would pick it back up, but no matter what, I was back here on that Sunday. And now I can say I've been delivered from drugs, I've been delivered from alcohol, I've been delivered from depression, I've been delivered from rejection, I've been delivered from sex addict, I've been delivered from porn, I've been delivered from everything because of Jesus. I'm just thankful for each and every person that's at Revival Fire, because every one of them played a part in my life, helped change me. Now I'm a pastor over Celebrate Recovery, which we call Freedom Ministries, and I'm thankful.